Welcome home to St. Anne's. We want you to know that you're welcome to join us at 10 a.m. on Sundays. Please be sure to hit subscribe to receive our sermons. We can't wait to meet you. I'll take this off. I promise I will not get so close to you while I'm preaching that I will share whatever god-awful things my children and spouse have shared with me. They say in sickness and health, and then like sickness comes and you're like, yeah, I didn't mean that. All of it but that line. Take that back. I know, I need to go back in time 15 years ago and say, just take that line out because you didn't mean it. Anyway, so let's talk about the gospel, shall we? So today is usually what I consider Marian Sunday. This is the day that we talk about Mary. But we didn't get all the full readings today, so I do want to talk about Mary because I think it is so important for us to reclaim the person that Mary really, truly was. And I, as many of you know, and I go through this every year when we talk about Mary, but I feel like I'm going to spend the rest of my life apologizing to her. So, like, I keep doing this every year. So, bear with me if you've heard me tell this story. So, I, as many of you know, I went to Roman Catholic schooling through 5th grade. And, which is kind of funny because my family was never Roman Catholic. We were always Episcopalians. And so if you can imagine little Episcopal Meg, who is not that much different then than she is now, except my hair was a little bit curlier and I was shorter. But other than that, most of the things were pretty much still there. And so I was not a big fan of Mary in Roman Catholic schooling because I'm going to sit, because like I said, everyone has decided to get me sick and I'm mad at them about it. Okay, so in Roman Catholicism, women are given two options, and it's the virgin or the whore. There are two Marys, and in Roman Catholicism, women choose, you get one of two paths, right? The virgin or the whore. Now, when you're in Roman Catholic school and you're a young child, you're supposed to be the virgin, the good one, right? But really, all of it comes down to whether or not you reproduce. So your job as a woman is to be like the good Mary, who did not ask any questions. She was obedient. She did what she was told. When God says, hey, I need you to be the Christ bearer. We'll talk about how I feel about being a vessel in a second. But vessel was the word used, the God bearer. She did what she was told. She didn't ask questions. She said, okay, and she did it. And then she spent the rest of her life in virgin purity raising Jesus. Right? Yeah. No, none of that is scripturally accurate. So let's talk about reclaiming Mary, because Mary was really something that was used, almost weaponized against us as girls of like, this is how you're going to be. But the reality is we need to spend our time reclaiming Mary for who she really, truly was. So Mary, when she finds out that she's pregnant, she goes to her cousin Elizabeth, and who is also divinely going to give birth. And they share this moment of like, we're going to tear down things. The proud will be brought low. The low will be brought high. So we have this sense that they understand that their job is to completely change the face of the world through God. Now, once you go back through Scripture, you'll notice that there is a pattern. There's a very clear pattern. When the rest of the world says it can't be done, God sends a woman. Yeah, no. You think I'm making it up? I'm not. Like, everyone else is like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. And God's like, oh, God, yes, we are. Yes, we are. Send in a woman. And so everybody's like, yeah, no. So Mary shows up. And it's like, but yeah, we're going to do this. And And that's a powerful thing. She's a brilliant theologian. She understands that she comes in a long line of women that God has sent to do the impossible. When the impossible is called upon by God to happen, these women rise up and they do it in the face of extreme difficulty. And she understands that that is what she is called to do. Because what she is called to do is impossible. I've talked to you before about the role of women in this time period, and really it is, there needs to be a man in your life. So first it's your dad, then it's your husband, then you hope to God you have a son. Right? Because somebody's got to be taking care of you. And it's incredibly male-dominated society at that time. And so the fact that she is pregnant, and Joseph is like, yeah, that's not mine, is the issue. There is nothing wrong with her being pregnant at this time. I'm going to tell you a little secret. Many women were pregnant this time when they got married, because our sense of what we think of as engaged and then married is very, very different at that time period. So I want you to get less caught up on the sex part of this. Okay? It is not about sex. I know the Roman Catholics have told us it was about sex for a really long time. It isn't. It never was, never will be. It's not about sex. It's about a person who we think is meaningless and worthless being who God calls. That's what this is really about. Because God recognizes in Mary a powerful theologian. Somebody who has the strength and the courage to take on and do this. That's what God sees. The rest of the world sees a nobody. And it is those nobodies that God calls. So you feel like you think that God can't possibly call you, right? Not me. Like, I'm not important enough, right? My teeth aren't shiny enough. I'm not fantastic enough. I'm not whatever enough. And yet, if you actually look at Scripture, that's who God calls. And here's the thing. You and I are called to do that. It's less about being a vessel. Ew, I can't even with the term vessel. But that's what we were given as girls when we were in the Roman Catholic world, is we were a vessel. Ew. Ew. To be honest, I'm not a very good vessel to begin with. But not interested in being a vessel. But it's really about this. Each one of us in our time and place, in your little corner of the world, has the ability to make enough noise to cause cracks in the system. Because systems are meant to perpetuate themselves. And Mary knows that. All through Scripture, we know that. That's why God sends these women in there, or sends these people, these little bitty nobodies in there. Because the system begets the system. Every system is meant to recreate itself. So if you sit around and think, well, maybe if I'm just quiet and polite enough, maybe racism will go away. Maybe if I'm just quiet and polite enough, people will start to care about the underserved and underprivileged. Maybe. I'll just be polite and nice enough. And then the system will realize someday that it's wrong. World's biggest eye roll. That's not how things work. Are you going to? Are you going to change yourself if you don't have to? If you're perfectly comfortable and okay? Absolutely not. The systems will not change themselves. And this is what I think is really, really cool about St. Anne's. So St. Anne's is a church where some people are like, well, what's the big mission at St. Anne's? And I was like, well, to be honest, really what we do at St. Anne's is support people in causing good trouble elsewhere. Because everybody at this church has an area of your world where you like to make changes, where you want to make a difference, see things wrong in this world, and you want to change them. And so really for us in this place, it's about empowering that. Because we are all called to be Mary. Not to be the vessel, God-bearer, follow the rules, do what you're told, obedient stuff that she's been rewritten and whitewashed with. But we are all called to create a little havoc. Because I'll tell you something. It's only through creating that havoc and making those cracks that the light gets in. So whatever it is that you feel called to, I hope you do that. Whether it be refugee ministry, whether it be making Lee Summit a better place for our community, whether it be international stuff, whether it be violence or anti-racism, whatever it is for you, what is that? What is that thing that you're out in the world and you see that and you're like, that's wrong. I don't like how we're doing that. I can see that this is not God behavior. This is not the gospel. Where do you see that? You all see it in different places. How do you raise a little madness? How do you create a little bit of havoc? Because that's what we're called to. We're all causing a few cracks to let the light in. Ew, and if somebody tells you you're a vessel, gross. They're like, ain't vesseling nothing. I'm a vessel for coffee and scotch. That's what I'm a vessel for. We want you to know that you're welcome to join us at 10 a.m. on Sundays. Please be sure to hit subscribe to receive our sermons. We can't wait to meet you.